On the 6400 block of South Dr. Martin Luther King Drive lies O Block. O Block is home to the Parkway Gardens low-income apartment complex. These days, there are various reports that rappers are scared of O Block. This complex has 35 buildings, and in one of them was where a young Michelle Obama and her family once lived. She once described the place as a wonderful small apartment building. So, why then are rappers scared of O Block? Today, on Rap Central, we'll show you just why. O Block history. Originally named Parkway Garden Homes, the apartment complex was built from 1950 to 1955 and was the first apartment complex to be cooperatively owned by Chicago's African American residents. It was built to fix the problem of the urban housing shortage that happened after World War I. The complex has 35 buildings, in which 24 of them are walk-up buildings, while the remaining 11 are 8-story buildings. Chicago's African American population boomed from 1920 to 1970, and this was a time when O Block became quite popular. And in 2011, the complex was even added to the National Register of Historic Places. However, while O Block became popular, so did gangs and violence began to rise in the neighborhood. O Block gangs. These gangs in Chicago were founded or began in 1958 by a group of young teenagers. These teenagers were from the major black neighborhoods in Chicago, such as Hyde Park, Kenwood, and Inglewood, with the goal of creating an alliance to combat their enemies. Some of the notable founders are David Barksdale, Richard Strong, Larry Hoover, Leonard Longstreet, Kilroy, Prince Oldtimer, etc. They named this alliance Devil's Disciples, but by the beginning of 1961, David Barksdale had taken full control of the Devil's Disciples. Barksdale's goal was to turn all the small gangs around the neighborhood into factions of the Disciples. Barksdale created the Black Disciples Nation in 1966 so as to make the gang stronger and make them able to counteract threats from other gangs. This move increased the number of people who joined the gang into the thousands, but the gang became even bigger in 1969 when Larry Hoover, the leader of the rival gang Gangsta Disciples, agreed to a merger with Barksdale, and together they created the Black Disciples Nation. However, not long after the alliance was formed, Larry Hoover was sentenced to prison for murder, and with Larry in prison, Barksdale became the only leader of the gang. But in 1974, at the age of 27, Barksdale died due to kidney complications. His death led to problems within the Black Gangsta Disciples Nation, and the gang eventually split into different factions called the Black Gangsta Disciples and the Black Disciples. Now, this is a crucial moment in the history of Chicago and O Block gangs because these two same gangs still rule the block till this very day. The creation of these two factions led to a rivalry and a bloody gang war that has never ended, but instead, they only have peace for a while and then end up back at war again. Also, these two gangs have factions that have been responsible for perpetrating violence on the streets of Chicago for many years. Black Disciples. The Black Disciples gang have spread from Chicago to other parts of America, particularly to the Midwestern and Southwestern states. The gang's colors are blue, red, and black. As of 2004, research showed that there are as many as 300 factions of the Black Disciples. Each faction has over 30 members, and they all maintain the same structure. The highest rank in each set is King Shorty, and after which comes the minister, assistant co-minister, and then the Demetrius. The primary activity of the gang is illegal drug trafficking, and other criminal activities of the gang include arms trafficking, burglary, money laundering, murder, racketeering, robbery, illegal gambling, kidnapping, and theft. The Black Disciples are the dominant gang in O Block. Many fans believe that the O Block faction of the gang is responsible for most of the killings and violence that happens on the block, and that the gang is also responsible for most of the violence that happens in Chicago. Some other gang rivals of the Black Disciples are Vice Lords, Black P Stones, Mickey Cobras, Latin Kings, and of course, the Gangsta Disciples. Due to the history of Chicago gangs, almost all families are involved with a gang one way or the other. The gangs are generational, which is why in most situations, the grandfather is a gang member, the father is a gang member, and the son is a gang member. As a result, many Chicago rappers are born into these gangs, and some of them are Chief Keef, Lil Durk, L.A. Capone, Fredo Santana, Lil Reese, and King Von. And in case you don't know, the original leader of the Black Disciples, David Barksdale, is the grandfather of King Von. This is also why Von is called Grandson, and also the reason why he named one of his mixtapes Grandson. Gangsta Disciples. Unlike the Black Disciples, the Gangsta Disciples are not just a street gang, but also a prison gang. The old color of the Gangsta Disciples is black and blue, but these days, gang members now wear black and gray instead. The Gangsta Disciples have a significant presence in the US prison system, and the gang is active in 110 cities and in 31 states. Just like the Black Disciples, the Gangsta Disciples are predominantly in the Midwestern and Southwestern states, and this is why most times the gang are always in a war for territory. The Gangsta Disciples mostly hold territory in the near north side of Chicago, and the gang has over 25,000 to 50,000 members. The gang is involved in criminal activities such as assault, auto theft, fraud, homicide, prostitution rings, firearms violations, money laundering, and drug trafficking. Some gang allies of the Gangsta Disciples are the Crips, Simon City Royals, etc. And some of their rivals are Latin Kings, People Nation, Bloods, Vice Lords, and Black P Stones. Some rappers who are members of the Gangsta Disciples are FBG Duck, Lil Mister, Lil Mo, Ruga, Billionaire Black, Lil Jojo, etc. The death of Tooka and O.D. Perry. Now, in the past, the neighborhoods with the most shootings in Chicago were Inglewood and the West Side, but nowadays, O Block has become perhaps the most dangerous neighborhood in all of Chicago. Between June 2011 and June 2014, O Block had the most shootings of any blocks in all of Chicago. This is undoubtedly a result of the gangs in the city, and the complex was also named O Block by gang members. In August 2011, O.D. Perry was shot and the block was named after him. Many fans believe that the block was named after him because he was a member of the Black Disciples gang. Although it isn't clear who killed O.D., fans are speculating that he was killed by members of the Gangsta Disciples as a retaliation for the killing of Gregory Shondell, who is popularly known as Tooka. Tooka was killed in January 2011, and after his death, a set of Gangsta Disciples members, who were originally known as St. Lawrence Boys, or as they're popularly known, STL, renamed themselves after him. The gang is known as Tooka, and the territory they own is called Tookaville. 15-year-old Tooka was killed in January 2011 at a bus stop. According to various fan speculations, Tooka was also killed as retaliation for the death of another Black Disciples member. Now, this is another crucial point in breaking down the reason why rappers are scared of O Block, as the death of Tooka began a long series of killings between the Black Disciples and the Gangsta Disciples. Rappers attacked by the O Block Black Disciples. After the death of Tooka, the two gangs have been involved in multiple retaliation killings with victims on both sides. One of such victims was Lil Jojo. The 18-year-old rapper had been involved with a feud with Black Disciples Chief Keef and Lil Reese. Jojo had aimed a couple of Twitter messages at Lil Reese and a number of other Black Disciples members, although Reese never responded. Jojo was shot in the back when the car pulled up while he was riding a bicycle in Inglewood. Now, fans have speculated that Jojo was killed for disrespecting Lil Reese and Chief Keef, who were members of the O Block faction of the Black Disciples. Another rapper who was allegedly attacked by the O Block Black Disciples is FBG Wooski. Wooski is a member of the Flyboy gang, who are allegedly members of the Gangsta Disciples. Wooski had a deadly rivalry with King Von, and the duo were allegedly involved in retaliation killings of their friends and associates. According to various reports, Wooski had allegedly been involved in the death of one of Von's friends, and Von responded by allegedly killing Wooski's cousin. And fans believe that Von might have ordered the shooting of Wooski at the funeral of another rapper, Dusky the Man. Dusky was killed in a drive-by shooting. Fans even believe that Von rapped about it in his song Exposing Me when he said, "Wooski got shot up right in his top." Now, the other rappers who are mentioned in this video were killed either after releasing a song dissing O Block Black Disciples members or mocking the death of one of the gang members. But before we delve into that, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to watch more videos like this one. Another rapper who fans believe was killed by Black Disciples members was Lil Mark. Lil Mark is the brother of Tooka, and unfortunately, Lil Mark was also killed at a bus stop just like his brother. Now, although Mark isn't a member of the Gangsta Disciples, fans believe he was killed for disrespecting O Block. A few days after releasing the music video for his song No Competition, Mark was shot. On the song, Mark is a member of the OTF music group and also inserted footage of Lil Reese in the video, and fans believe that he was shot dead because of this video. The O Block Black Disciples faction is also allegedly responsible for the death of Mubu Crump. Crump is a member of King Louie's Mubu camp and also a member of the Gangsta Disciples. Crump had also attacked Lil Durk's DJ at a mall and dropped him with the right hand before posting a video of the incident on Twitter. However, fans believe that the reason Crump was allegedly killed by the O Block Black Disciples was because he had mocked the death of Lil Durk's cousin, OTF Nooski. Crump was killed in a drive-by shooting while he was at a house party. He was shot 4 times, twice in his arm and twice in his torso. While FBG Wooski was lucky enough to not die from the shooting, his label mate FBG Duck wasn't. Duck was a Gangsta Disciples member who had a rivalry with Lil Durk. Duck released a song titled Dead Bodies, and on the song, Duck dissed, mocked, and disrespected dead members of O Block. A few days after the release of the song, Duck was killed at a shopping complex on Oak Street. Duck was shot in the chest, groin, and neck. Fans believe that Duck is another rapper that was shot for disrespecting O Block. That brings us to the end of today's video. If you liked the video, please leave a like and a comment below. Also, if you're new to the channel, subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified when we upload new content.